evening, I had talked to you before through your office about Ted Williams, the man with the golden voice, who had been on with me a couple times, and we were just all kind of wondering what the future holds for him. And do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't. I got to say, I don't usually make predictions on individuals and individuals I don't know. But what I mean, what a remarkable man to think that becoming homeless after successfully being in the armed services and so forth. And I just think that he should be proud of this, is an example of a Cinderella phenomena that happens in only places like the United States. Here, what was it? Someone interviewed him, put it on the internet. He ended up on a number of national television shows, and just gave a spark. Though I think that one thing he has served is giving hope to people who you could almost say have floundered and lost everything. But you know something? With everything that happened to him, he didn't lose everything. Something within that character was were remaining there, that when someone came along and gave him a spark of hope, he was able to rally and move with it. Doesn't that say something about the resourcefulness of the human spirit?
Absolutely.
And you don't understand. Sure, people can say, well, this TV show saw him, this other TV show gave him a break. But let's not forget one fact. He retained a gift, the talent he had, his voice and so forth, and look at how it carried it through. And I'm going to say something to young people listening and others. I don't want to put people in the tragic situation that he was in with the drugs and the drinking and everything else. But let me say something. The most successful people in history have often come out of difficult childhoods in difficult parts of life. Whether it was Arthur Godfrey, who slept on park benches, to comedians, I can tell you, to scientists and so forth, they somehow had the skill to rise over all the negativeness, and if they had that skill, they were able to harness it to great achievements in life.
I tell you, Kreskin, you're exactly right. I want to move on to one more subject here before we're out of time. I know you won't tell me who the president's going to be. Yes, and that's what I'm going for.
The folks listening in, I got to tell you, someday when I'm in the area, I want to warn the station manager, I may go on the air right on live with Scott, read his thoughts, and oh my God, that's going to be something to listen to.
Why, Kreskin, you could put me on the map here in a big way if you told me.
Now, can I tell you something that real quick? Time is. I haven't told the story. It's in my new book. But what you don't know is when I prepared this prediction before I went on the Jimmy Fallon show and wrote it out, and nobody knows the contents. NBC does not send a safe. Another copy is with a number. There's 3 other copies with people in different parts of the country that are going to go on the air. Robin Leach is one of them in a sealed safe that he does not know the contents of. Do you know, Scott, before I left for New York to do the show, I was headlining at the Riviera in Vegas. I got a call at my hotel room. The same offer was made for me the next day when I turned it down. And 1 month later, 1 week later, to my home here, a man was downstairs and said, Mr. Kreskin. I said, yes. He says, you have an envelope. I said, what are you talking about? I knew what he was talking about because I only told 5 people. Can't keep a secret in Vegas. He says, I'm standing down here with an envelope of my own of $20,000. If I can come up to your room, I will hand it to you. Could you exchange your letter, your envelope with me? Let's just put it this way. There's a couple of tabloid newspapers in this country who've made their headlines by finding information, paying for it, and so forth. Scott, do you think for one moment they would have waited until after the election to reveal what I had written? It would have been on the front page in 1 week.
Absolutely.
End of story.
Well, Kreskin, let me put it this way, and I'll move off of that.
He's not going to propose. I swear, folks, listen to him.
No, hold on.
Get it out of me.
No, hold on, Kreskin. I'm not going to go with that. See, this in a much lower way, you could help me out. Now, see, this is good because I don't think you've done this yet, but I bet you know. Who's going to be Romney's vice presidential candidate?
I know. Now I must tell you, I have stepped completely away from the political scene. Sometime maybe in the next week or two, I've done something, Scott. I vowed never to do in my life. The story, while it broke in Maine, is now gone everywhere because a man who worked for me 30 years ago as my road manager, Steve Woods, very fine young man. He spent 3 years with me at age 18. He attended over 900 shows because he was a road manager, had to set the stage, set the travel, and so forth. He's a very successful businessman in Maine, and I met him just recently again. He decided to run for the United States House of Representatives as a representative of the state of Maine. He's decided to run on neither Republican or Democratic ticket, but as an independent. He does not want to owe anything to any party, have any secret agreement. He does not want to be indebted to anyone. He wants to be able to handle this. And by the way, this is the way our founding fathers originally meant. Politicians were not supposed to make it a career. They were supposed to give back something of themselves because of their success. That's the way Ben Franklin, George Washington was a farmer, and when they asked him to run again, said, no, you must turn it over to someone else. I'm going back to the farm. It is a disgrace that Congress, and I'm not either politically Republican or Democratic. I have a public statement I've made for 10 years now because I'm being asked would I run for office, and my answer is very simple. I refuse to become involved in politics because I have much greater respect for organized crime. I have made a public statement, even though I'm not from Maine, of supporting Steve Woods only because I think it is a damn inspiration.
Well, now, I understand that, Kreskin, and I think a lot of people would agree with you. But let me ask you this. Do you know who Romney's like?
No, I don't, because I turned my mind away from it. It's an interesting time right now, and one final thing that we should all understand. I've done over 2,000 university shows, and college students say to me, because sometimes we have a conference after the show or during the day, the students that are studying being newspaper or communication people will ask to interview me, so it ends up being a few hundred students, not the audiences, the large audiences. And they say, Mr. Kreskin, no one has ever told us this. We didn't know this. We have a very, very narrow perspective in our public representatives who are supposed to represent, like Italy, the public. In Italy, a prostitute can be a member of the legislation. I'm not endorsing prostitution, but their philosophy is it must reflect the climate of the people, newspaper men, what have you. In this country, yes, it's mainly attorneys, but we should also understand while there are 6 to 10 attorneys to every 100,000 people in England, and most civilized countries, it's a 6 to 10 to every 100,000 people. In the United States, there's one attorney for every 300 people. What alarmed everybody, and when I discussed this on Fox, they looked it up and said, my God, what Kreskin said is true. Talk about our feelings being expressed by our representatives? No. It's special interest groups. Sit down, folks. Sit down, youngsters. Lobbyists are the one influencing our legislatures. And today, in Washington, D.C., there are over 35,000 lobbyists. It is one of the greatest crises, I think, in the history of the United States. Kreskin, I hope I've said a few things to give your audience some thoughts.
Oh, definitely some thinkers. And before I get you off the line, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. I always enjoy it so much. You're welcome back anytime.
Oh, and listen, I'll tell you, when the book comes out, we're going to spend maybe a longer amount of time, and I may use hypnotic techniques. No, I'm only kidding.
Well, final question. The next president of the United States, what will his monogram towels be?
Well, what I want to ask you something.
Go ahead.
I want to ask, now you've asked a lot, what do you feel it could be? Now, I'm not even joking, Scott. What do you feel? Tell me.
Who do I think?
How would you answer that question? What you just asked me.
What I just, okay, I would say at this point, I think there'll be B.O.
B.O.?
Yep. What do you think?
Now, Now that's initials of somebody, isn't it?
That is, yes, that's initials.
You are bad. I'm joking. So I got to tell you this though. It is going to be in it. Oh, you know what's exciting about my prediction? And they're all asking me, am I correct or not? I didn't just write down who would win the election. And last when I wrote it out in July, it was also the name of the person I felt would be running on the Republican ticket. And Scott, remember, last July there were about 12 people because you had 2 women, you had 10 men, and so forth. So this is going to be, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And we'll be talking before then because my book will be out. But I want to tell you folks, I believe, Scott will not tell you this, I believe he's also worked for the CIA and the intelligence. Notice how he's getting stuff out of me and so forth. I'll be talking to you, Scott.
Now, Kreskin?
Yeah.
Yeah, who is the person who won the Republican primary going to be the president?
Oh, fuck, I'll tell you. By the way, folks, and I just want to say this to you because I'm not going to say goodbye, just in the spirit of broadcasting, Scott, let's just say to be continued. Okay, Scott?
Thank you, Kreskin.
Take care, Scott.
Bye-bye.
See you now.
See ya. Boy, he just wouldn't give it up.